What is transvestigation? The last time I talked about it was when I mentioned Hans Wernhardt and when he talked about transvestigation. Now I want to talk about it a little bit more. This is one of those trends I talked about where people look at famous celebrities to see if they're transgender or not, or they're secretly trans. So here's my take on the transvestigation and what actually is it? Well, if you don't know what transvestigation is, I pretty much just summed it up at the start of this video. But it wasn't just Hans Wernhardt who did this, but it's also Mystery, where they would pretty much just look at celebrities to see if they were secretly transgender or not. But they wouldn't just look at the celebrities to look at their genitalia or anything. They would actually do other things as well, where they would. And how Hans explained pretty much in a half-an-hour video of one I haven't watched because it was that long. But pretty much how his take is on transvestigation is pretty much where you look at a celeb, but instead of looking at parts of the body, you actually look at the bone structure, which was quite interesting because he's talked about Amelia Earhart and when he did forensics on her body that she was actually they found a male skeleton, and this is to do with maybe the whole transgender debate about people changing their anatomy or not being able to because there is a thing called chromosomes and bone structure. And Hans's point that he makes is that a lot of people have very different bone structures, and men should have long torso and short legs, and women should have short torsos and long legs, which I do kind of really understand and see where he is actually coming from, because you can see that anatomy is very different in people, and some people do look a bit off even with males. But to be honest, I don't see how that would be actually possible, but I'll probably talk about what Hans's description is of bone structure, because there was someone else called Mystery, and actually Mystery did a recent video, not on YouTube but also on the Odyssey platform that I talked about recently. And he pretty much does videos on there, and he talks about satanic transgenderism and all this other stuff about like these really ancient rituals that they would do. It's very a little bit too schizophrenic for me, but he would do videos where he would talk about like gay church and all these other things. But he actually did one specifically about the Stranger Things cast. And he pretty much looked at all the actors and he would look at their bone structures. And what he did at the start of the video, he would pretty much just show teenage transgenders, I think he showed. And he showed like FTM and MTF, male to female and female to male. And what he would do, he was pretty much do that and then move it onto the Stranger Things cast. And it was very interesting about all these people. They look all the men look a little bit feminine, and all the women look a bit masculine, with all like the bone structures and their jaws. I'm not going to talk about the specific cast members, but it's very interesting of the comparison he made, and you can sort of see this in some of the cast, which I am trying to understand of what Mystery was trying to say. But then you get someone like Hans Wernhardt, who actually does talk about all of the bone structure, as he would put, and I think that Hans is right on a lot of the bone structure, but to say everyone's trans, like literally everyone being transgender, is a little bit of a stretch. And I know that bone structure is very specific, but how are you even going to work that out? If I take like a bunch of people, right? If I take 10 people, right, and I look at each one of them individually of their bone structure, and some are a little bit masculine, some are a bit feminine, like how would I work that? Plus if they've had children, and Hans says that even if they can still have children, and he talks about free martins. Now, you're probably wondering what the hell even are free martins. Well, free martins are like male calves that can give birth, which is an actual thing. I actually did look this up. A free martin is a male calf that has uterus, I think, and they can, ovaries, and they can actually pretty much, actually give birth like a normal cow, and like artificial insemination. And Hans has made a point about, that being like a thing that humans can actually do, which sounds pretty insane, but we always make comparisons to the animal kingdom because of their anatomy, at least with their being able to procreate, and also humans being able to procreate, and that comparison of actually looking at someone and seeing if they're transgender, and all of the things that would come from animals that we would compare, which I think would be also a good point, that maybe some males are born, because you always hear about intersex people, don't you? You always hear about them being born in the wrong body, but it's more like they were born with the wrong genitals. So it was like you would get like, you'd be a man but you'd have ovaries, and then you would probably have like a gender surgery, and then Hans would make a comparison with seeing that being pretty much everyone and just their bone structure. So even if they are like a male but they've got short torso and long legs, they would actually be female, which is very hard to wrap your head around. I have no idea what the hell fans is actually going on about, so I can just barely about get it. I mean, I've looked at my own anatomy, but I'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, the whole transgender thing and the whole, you know, it being very pushed, and you know, it turns out everyone's like secretly trans, and you know, it'd be very hard to actually get your head around, because there are people who are genuinely are transgender. For example, the Hannah Reloaded that I mentioned last video when I talked about Hans has is openly transgender, but also when it comes down to Hans, I think that, you know, he would pretty much, you know, talk about all of these other people being, you know, trans, and Hannah Reloaded actually made a point about, you know, being a little bit ridiculous about, oh, everyone being trans, it would be very difficult for everyone to be trans, because not everyone experiences gender dysphoria, which is like, it was originally classed as a mental illness. But again, I'm not going to talk about that too much. It's just a comparison between what Hans was said and Hannah Reloaded said. People that Hans would actually compare to, there's like people like Vin Diesel and Pam, I can't remember his name, I'll probably just show an image, and people like Jack Black and Henry Cavill, of them and their anatomy, you know, them having, you know, short torso and long legs, and there is their anatomy, you know, they've all done transvestigation videos out there that you could probably look about these people and their anatomies. I've seen one about the Harry Potter cast, and with, you know, with what was her name, Hermione Granger, you know, that's it, Emma Watson. Hans actually talked about in one of the videos I did, and it was quite interesting of what he would actually compare her anatomy with. And yeah, that's pretty much the summary of Transvestigation, I guess, with when it comes down to bone structure, or at least when it comes down to celebrities as well. And to be honest, I do think these celebrities could be. I mean, there is someone like Lady Gaga. There was actually rumours of her being actually secretly being a hermaphrodite, which is like a man that can impregnate itself. I know it's insane. Look, I'm seeing really insane stuff in this video, but I'm trying to explain it the best I can, because this is me trying to like figure it out. And I actually remember seeing a video in 2013, I think, if I can remember, when I was a kid. And it was actually a video of Lady Gaga having like a little bit of the untuck. So what they do is actually do this tuck, some of the, I think, what was it, the MTFs, I think, and before that they have this thing where they actually tuck it between the legs, and they're like taught to do certain poses so that doesn't untangle, if you catch my drift. And someone actually saw Lady Gaga's privates on display, and I think that there might be some truth to that, but I'm not really sure if it was just like that video. It was really low quality, but yeah, I actually did remember seeing the original videos, so there might be something there. And I looked at my anatomy to see if I was trans. Well, I don't think I am. I've got I've got a long torso, short legs. I've got long gangly arms, and if you look at old pictures of me, I looked very gangly. I looked at my anatomy, I've, you know, broad shoulders, I don't have any slits, my head is quite wide, because apparently the the FTM has a long face. And there is also, I forgot to mention this, the difference between FTM and MTF, but that was to do with the anatomy, with the torso and the bone structure, and then there's like the Q ankle, there's all these weird things that you have to like work out. And yeah, I don't want to get too much into it, because it's just really hard to work out. I might do that probably another day of, you know, might even talk about more about Transvestigation. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video about me talking about Transvestigation, what it is, and what I actually think of it, and also if I'm actually, you know, supposedly secretly trans, and also celebrities, with what Hans and Mystery was talking about. And as well, if you want to click on these videos where I've also talked about other parts of not just conspiracy, but also other people on the internet, I talk about those a little bit more in detail. And before you click on this video, I actually have a link in the description, either to my link tree or to my second channel, to my link tree with my Discord and my other channels as well.